My name is Joao Ferreira. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the Office Development and Windows Insider categories, and I've been working with SharePoint for the last 9 years. I started this journey as a branding designer for SharePoint, and then things evolved, and I've been spending the last years building and extending solutions for SharePoint and now for Microsoft Teams, taking advantage of the common grounds between both platforms. I'm the author of the Hands on Teams book, and I'm also the author of several blogs about Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And I have one specifically for SharePoint and another one for Teams. You can find them at handsonsharepoint.net and handsonteams.net. All right, so I always have this slide in my presentations just in case we have someone that is thinking about starting to use Microsoft Teams. So what is Microsoft Teams? It's the hub for teamwork on Microsoft 365. It's the fastest growing business app ever made by Microsoft, and it's always every 6 months it's breaking new records of daily active users. And some say that if Microsoft would release a new version of Windows, it would be called Microsoft Teams, because in reality it's the place where you will spend most of your time while working. With the extensibility options, you can easily do most of the tasks without leaving the app, just by bringing everything into the context of Microsoft Teams. One of the slides that I have to update every time that I do a presentation about Teams is this one. Last number reported by Microsoft is 145 million daily active users, and this is a lot of people, and there's a huge potential to build things on top of Microsoft Teams. And now let's start to talk about how Microsoft Teams and how SharePoint work together. And the first thing that I want to explain you is the architecture of Microsoft Teams. And to do that, the first thing that I want to show you is this design here with the Russian dolls, where you have teams, and then inside of each team you have channels, and then inside of each channel you have tabs. This is the simplistic version of the Teams architecture. Obviously, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of other Microsoft 365 applications and platforms running together to provide the Microsoft Teams experience. But in a simplified way, this is what a team in Teams look like. So Teams and SharePoint, and these are the main topics that I will cover today. So first, I will show you in more detail how the platform architecture looks like. I will show you the endless integrations that are built into the platform and that you can take advantage of, namely files, news, landing pages, SharePoint lists or Microsoft lists now. And here at the bottom, I have Microsoft Viva Connections, and Viva Connections, it's your landing page for your intranet now inside of Microsoft Teams. It's brand new. It was released a couple months ago by Microsoft, or announced a couple months ago and released 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, something like that. And it's fully available for you to take advantage of everything you have in SharePoint, but inside of Microsoft Teams. And this includes the news, includes search, includes the global navigation, and everything will be just a click away inside of Teams. But before jumping into that, let me first explain you the main touching points between Teams and SharePoint architecture. So in this diagram, what we have here first on the left side is the a team structure in Microsoft Teams. So the team A, when it's created in Microsoft Teams, it generates a site collection inside of SharePoint. So for each team, you will get a site collection with the name of the team. This site collection is used to store all your documents, and for each folder, for each channel that you create inside of your team, you will get a folder in the main document library. And this is how the most simplistic version of the teams inside of Teams work. So you have a site collection, you have a document library, and you have folders inside of that document library that represent the structure of channels in your team. This is the most basic scenario. Then we have the private channel. So inside of Teams, you are able to create channels that are restricted just to some of the users. And those channels, as you can see here, generate a new site collection. And this site collection also has a library, but doesn't have the name of the channel. So for each private channel, you will get also a site collection. So, and this site collection concatenates the name of the team with the name of the private channel in this format over here. So despite generating a site collection for private channels, this is quite limited, and because of the permissions and all of that, it's not recommended that you put there a lot of things, and do not touch the permissions at all, because Microsoft will revert it to the default ones if you do that. But the site collections that you have attached to your main teams, to your team, these site collections can be used to do pretty much everything that you do in a regular SharePoint site collection that was not connected to a team in SharePoint. So you have access to lists, you have access to files, you have access to news. All of that is available for you to use as well. And you can leverage that type of information then inside of SharePoint, and namely with the Microsoft Viva Connections. So now everything is a lot easier to bring to the SharePoint context. So as I said, Viva Connections is your SharePoint intranet inside of Microsoft Teams, but you will not find this app installed in Teams, and to get it, you will have to generate it itself. So there's a couple things that you should be compliant with in order to get the application installed. So in order to get it installed and available to all the users, you must be a SharePoint and a Teams admin. You must have a communication site. A home site is not mandatory, but is highly recommended to take advantage of all the features that are included in this app. And you must have the global navigation as well. Again, not mandatory, but if you want to take advantage of all the features, it's highly recommended. So how do you can get the application in your Teams instance if it's not there for you to use? So it's pretty simple. There are 3 different methods with the SPO management shell. The official one supported by Microsoft and released by Microsoft allows you to install and generate the package using the PowerShell provided by Microsoft. You have to download it, you have to execute it, and provide all the details about the app. I will not run it because it takes about 5 minutes, and it's pretty straightforward. You just need to provide the details, provide the URL for the site, and so on and so on, and then everything will be generated. But this is not an automated process. So if you want to make it available to all your users, you still need to then do things manually in the admin center and upload it to your users. Then we have PNP PowerShell. This is a fully automated process. It takes care of the installation and the upload and all that, but it's only available for Windows. So if you are a Mac user, you have to fall back to the Microsoft 365 CLI. Again, fully automated process like the PNP PowerShell, and works in Windows and Mac. Despite being built by the community, this were released with a stamp of approval from Microsoft, so you don't need to worry about anything. And in the end, all of them will generate the package, the same package that you will be able then to install in your Teams instance, so you get access to Viva Connections. So how does Connections look like? And I will show you in a minute how it looks like in SharePoint, and then how it looks in Teams. But here you have a representation. So I've defined the app as the first app inside of the Teams personal app bar. And when the user clicks on it, it opens the home site, displaying all the web parts you have in the page. And it also brings the global navigation, the common most visited sites for the user, or the my sites for the user, and the news that are tailored to the user. Other than that, it also extends the search features inside of Microsoft Teams. And when you use the search bar at the top, you are no longer just able to do a search within the Teams context, but you can extend it to the SharePoint. And if you have a search center configured and a global search center, then this search will be performed inside of SharePoint, and it will open a tab in SharePoint. So before moving to the next step, let me bring here the browser, and let me show you how it looks like. So this is the home site of my tenant, and in here, as you can see, I have a vertical SharePoint bar. If some of you don't have it yet, you should be getting by the day, because this is pretty much rolled out globally. And I've seen users every day getting this new bar experience. But here, since I have the global navigation enabled, I have this global navigation that it's common to all my modern sites inside of SharePoint. I have my sites, the frequent one and the followed sites. I have the news that are recommended to me based on the sites that I follow and the sites that I belong to. And I have my list of files. So this is what Viva Connections brings to you inside of SharePoint. Then to take advantage of this inside of Microsoft Teams, and let me bring it here. I think I have one instance of Teams. It's here. All right, so this is exactly the same application inside of Teams, the same site, the same home site, and in here, things behave a bit differently than they do when you use it inside of SharePoint. And what we have here, it's the same menu. This is a unique feature for this app. When you click in the icon here, it expands this menu, and you have condensed in the same bar the global navigation, the sites, and the news. So instead of getting an option for each one of these things like you have in the SharePoint in the browser, you have a different option for a different section inside of the same bar for each one of them. And then if you do a search here, you will see that you have the option here to open SharePoint. And if I click in here, it opens my search center with this query pre-init feature that allows your users to get information that is stored in SharePoint directly from Teams that other way they might not be able to find, because they might just look and use the search features that are provided by Microsoft Teams if they were exclusively working in Teams. This way, they will be able to find things that you have in your intranet that are there for years, and now they will start to get discovered by this tight integration between Teams and SharePoint. So just before we move on to the next integrations that I want to show you, in my blog, you will have the 3 different processes fully explained with step-by-step instructions, with everything that the package will generate, and explaining how to get this installed for each one of them. And for the official one, the one that Microsoft provides, the PowerShell, I also explain how you can get it defined using a policy, setup policy as the first step. So once you get it installed, and if you are an admin, and you will have to be to get it installed to all users and to make it available to all users, all you have to do is to go to the setup policies. If all your users are using the same setup policy, then just modify the global setup policy, click on the apps, search for the app. It will have the name that you provide in the PowerShell, add it to the top, and this way, when you save it after a couple hours, users will start to see it as the first step in the personal bar. Obviously, then if you allow them to unpin and pin the apps, then they will be able to unpin it and remove it from here. But this is a great way to have your intranet right in front of the eyes of all your users. All right, so next one. So working with files, as I mentioned before, is one of the main things common to SharePoint and to Teams. SharePoint started its life as a file management system, but then it evolved, and Teams also has a big feature, and one of the main features of Teams, it's the way it stores and provides access to the files. But if you have things stored in SharePoint, if you had things stored in SharePoint for years and now you've migrated from on-premises to the cloud and you have different structures that are not connected to Teams, that will not be a problem for you to bring those files to the context of the user. So we'll show you 3 different ways now of how you can get access to your file. So to do that, I will show you this theme where I have a lot of tabs already created, but this is just for demo purposes. So the first way is using the Files tab. So each theme will have a Files tab. The second tab on each theme will be always Files, and no matter what you do, you will not be able to remove it. So this is granted here. And this tab by default opens with the folder for the channel already open. So I'm in the general channel, and what I have here is the general folder. If I switch here to the contest folder, contest channel, it opens already here in the contest. One thing that this now allows you from the general channel, it's the possibility to navigate back from here and open the folders from the other channels. It provides you this breadcrumb navigation, and from here you can do pretty much everything that you do in OneDrive, in SharePoint. All the options are here, so you are able to sync the content. You are able to open the files in the library in SharePoint, and to upload and download files directly from Microsoft Teams. So this is the default way. This is granted here. So this is what Teams provide out of the box. Now, what if you have a different structure? What if you have other libraries? What if you have documents in other site collections that you would like to bring to the context of this team? Well, SharePoint and Teams get you covered on this one, and there are two different apps in the Teams that you will find. I will show you both, but I would say that with the evolution of the SharePoint app, this document library doesn't make much sense anymore. But anyway, it's still here, and I will show you the differences between one and the other. So when you select document library, you will have then to select the site from where you want to get the document library from. You can do it from the list of relevant sites, or you can do it from a dedicated link. And whenever you select one or the other, then you have the possibility to select the document libraries you have inside of it. So I will just add this one with this name just to show you how it looks. And this is the layout. And let me bring it here so we can compare it. This is the layout of the document library. It's a bit different than this one in terms of features and in terms of how things look like, but the main features are here. Now, what I recommend you to do is use this SharePoint application instead, that aggregates all the features of SharePoint inside of the same application, and for some reason it's not loading. All right. So again, allows you to get libraries. In this particular case, it suggests you this site collection where you are, or from any SharePoint site. And here you will have the possibility to paste a link for the site and grab the document libraries you have in here. So you will be able to filter by pages, lists, and document libraries. But here I will select document libraries and this one here. All right. Now, if I bring it here, you will see that. All right. Anyway, doesn't matter. I don't want to go there. Stay here. Depending on the type of app you use, for the same library, you will get different layouts. So this has a more modern look and has all the modern features like the tiles, view, compact list, and all of that. On this one, you will not find the view selection. But the features to manage documents, upload, download, open documents, copy links, open in SharePoint, they are the same everywhere. But you must be aware of the differences between these three different choices. So if I have to say, I would say that ignore the document library one, and if you have to use libraries from other site collections inside of SharePoint, use the SharePoint application, because at least things will look a bit more similar with this one and this one combined in the same team. All right, I'm not checking the chat window. I don't know if we have any questions. Let me just open it so I can check it. All right, so no questions so far. Let me move forward and let me continue to show you how you can get now rich landing pages in SharePoint. So one of the things that we've seen already is the possibility to get the Viva Connections inside of Teams, and this is nothing more than a SharePoint page with a bunch of web parts. It's the landing page for your home site, but this can be reproduced in any other site collection. So if I want to get a page that I've built in SharePoint with web parts inside of Teams, all I have to do is then use the SharePoint web part, select the page. I will select news here. And again, you have the possibility to select from this side or any other side, but you should take into consideration that the permissions will not be immediately granted to users that belong to the team that don't have permissions to see this application on this page specifically. So I will save it, and what you will see here is this news page from SharePoint. As you can see, all the Chromes, the menus, the bars, all of that in modern SharePoint pages is removed, so you get just the focus on the contents. And for a user that is not familiar with SharePoint, he will not know that this is SharePoint. But for all the other users that are familiar with SharePoint and want to navigate from here to SharePoint directly, this button here will do the trick, and they will be able to open the SharePoint page. Again, there's another option here. There's a SharePoint Pages application, and this has the same functionality and does exactly the same thing. It's just the configuration layout. This is a bit older than the other application. This was here since the beginning of Teams. But Microsoft is adding everything inside of the SharePoint default web part. So before we run out of time, list is an important feature now that Microsoft has a dedicated application to manage what used to be just SharePoint lists and Microsoft lists. Nowadays, it's available as a dedicated app inside of Teams. So you will be able not only to bring lists from SharePoint to the context of Teams, but also to create your own lists directly from here. So once you add the application, you will see the option to create a list or add an existing list. And if you create a list, you will get a set of templates from where you can choose from. If you are new to this, or if you want to test this, quick note about the templates. In Teams, you will find 3 more templates than when you use this application in the browser. The application, it's exactly the same one, but if I click here in New List, I have less templates than I have in Teams. So I don't have patients and low ones. And if you then decide to use this in iOS, you will have still an extra template. So you will end up with a total of 12 templates. I don't know why Microsoft made these decisions of not making all the templates available in all platforms, but this is how things work, and this is how you can access to the information. But creating a list from here, it's as simple as selecting the template or starting from scratch, and then use the template, provide a name, a description, and the list information will be available here to all your users to consume. And if you format this list, and let me see if I have one formatted here. If you format this list and have a view formatted with tiles or a different type of formatting that transforms the layout of the list into something more like a web part, the users will be able to see it as well from here. Sorry, click the wrong button. Asset manager, maybe. Well, not this one. Go here to the. So this one here. So things like this will be accessible to you inside of Teams as well. So you just have to select the view or define the view as the main view. And then your users will be able to interact with the data in the list using this new approach, these new layouts that are much more intuitive and much more user-friendly, and still see all the information that was stored in the list. All right, I think we are running out of time, but there's still a few other things that I would like to show you, and one of them is the App Studio. So with the App Studio, you are able to create your own applications for Microsoft Teams, and one way of doing it is by packaging information that you have inside of SharePoint. So if I go here to, I have one here that's ready for you to see. If I go here to this application that I've built, I have the name, the full name, the ID, all of the things that are pretty well described in the form. And once you do this, then you are able to start adding tabs. And these tabs can be pages from outside of the Microsoft ecosystem or SharePoint pages. And if you choose to use modern SharePoint pages, you will be able to get a similar experience with the Viva Connections, but with tabs at the top that will allow you to easily access to SharePoint content packaged in a way that it makes sense for you and for your business, and users will be able to directly access to dedicated pages. So let's imagine that you want to build an application for human resources, so users can submit their vacations or can submit expenses or request something from the HR department or read information about company policies, and you have a page in SharePoint for each one of those things. You can create an app for Teams with all those pages packaged in the container and call it HR. And when the user needs something, he goes there directly to the app and see all those tabs. There's one caveat, however, that you still need to take care, that is the authentication. So when you add a tab in SharePoint, I have here these two examples, one with a happy smile and another one with a sad smile. If you paste the direct link to the content URL, and if the user it's not yet authenticated in the Teams context in SharePoint, and by this I mean the user never clicks to open a file or in the Files tab, the page will not open and the user will not be authenticated. The workaround will be using the authentication page in SharePoint. Let me go here and show you. So using this page, the Teams logon ASPX, then with the parameter destination with the destination URL. If the user is not authenticated, this page will take care of the authentication and the user will be able to see the content. So since this is a modern page, and let me see if I have it here installed. I do. The result will be exactly the same on both tabs because I'm already authenticated, even though the URLs are different. But since this is a modern page, what I have here is just the content. So all the SharePoint information was stripped, but I'm still able to take advantage of the awesome web parts that Microsoft now includes in the system and the flexibility to create rich pages using the web parts that SharePoint provides me and package all of this inside of SharePoint. All right, so last thing that I want to show you, it's a bit more technical and I will not jump into the details of how it can be implemented, but if some of you are familiar with development, you may know that SharePoint development in modern SharePoint, it's made with SharePoint Framework. And SharePoint Framework was widely adopted by the community, and now it's being widely adopted by the other platforms in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So you can easily extend pretty much any component in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem with SharePoint Framework. It can be Outlook, it can be Word, it can be Teams, it can be SharePoint. Well, it covers all these things. But what you can do in Teams is create web parts that are targeted also to work inside of Teams as an application. And I have here one example to show you that I've built when the pandemic started, so people can start to have fun with their peers and challenge them for maybe it's here in the business as unusual. Yeah, it's this classic snake game that I have here that was built using a SharePoint web part, but was built to be used inside of Teams. And the good thing about this is that users will be, members of the team will be able to compete against each other and see the scores in a leaderboard. And obviously I did this with a limit, so users don't spend the entire day. The admin have the possibility to define a limit of plays that each user can do each day. But all of this was made using SharePoint and has been made available using Microsoft Teams to end users. If you want to grab a copy of the game, it's available also in one of my blogs. And with this last example, I wrap up the session. We are reaching the session time limit, and I'm leaving here my contacts just in case you want to get in touch with me after the session. You can do it on Twitter. It's the network where I'm most active, on by email, or reach me directly through the comment section on one of my blogs. And here you have the QR code to rate my session. And if you have any question, I will be here a few more minutes. Feel free to send the question or open up your mic, and I will be happy to answer to it. All right, seems that we don't have any question. Wish you all awesome event and see you around. Bye-bye. Have a good day.